Hello and welcome to episode 11 of the Rocket League Mapmaking tutorial series. Today we're talking about Netcode. Now, what does Netcode do? Well, Netcode makes everything simpler if you're using a multiplayer map. If you're making a single player map, forget about Netcode, you don't need it. But for multiplayer maps, it's really hard to sync things, so it's very useful to have Netcode by your side. And basically what Netcode does, you can go watch CinderBlock's tutorial, which I will link in the description for more in-depth of how the plugin works. But basically it sends signals to the host and to the client, and then back to the host, I think. I don't really know how it works, I'm gonna be honest. I just know how it works for map making. So I'm just gonna show you how the Kismet works, and this is a Kismet thing, and it's nothing you actually place in level. So I'm just gonna create a new subsequence called Netcode. Okay, you will be able to find this map in the Google Drive link in the description. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a simple remote event. So all you have to do is we're going to have a simple event, whatever that event may be, and then you're going to R and left click, and it's going to make a new remote event, and then we're going to type WSNC underscore. WSNC underscore is the prefix for Netcode. If you don't type in WSNC and the underscore, it's not going to recognize it. So if I were to type WSNC event, whatever that event name may be, and then if I were to type event, these are not the same. This is Netcode, and this is not. You have to have the WSNC, and it has to be an underscore there too. So, what are we gonna do? Well, in order for this to work, you have to take this side to client side, and then use that, and then you can do whatever you want here. And that's how Netcode works. That's it. And it's simple. I'll show you some real applications later in the video, but I'm just going to show you how it works first. But this does come in handy a lot. There are a few things it won't do. First of all, it won't sync teleports. If you have your remote event, if you have a Netcode event, and then you try and teleport it, it's not going to sync it. It's not going to work at all. So in order to get around this, what you can do, because there are a few things that Netcode won't sync also, but it's mainly teleports. And to get around this, all you have to do is add a game ball. And so I can do this really quickly. Add a game ball, and then after 0.1 seconds, just destroy that game ball. And then if we were to, let's just take this and move it over, and then I'll convert this to a trigger. And then make sure it's not overlapping. Okay. Sometimes, if you convert it, sometimes there'll be another trigger under it, so I was just double checking. And then if we place this here, and then we take the trigger, and then trigger volume touch, and then we do ball underscore TA 00, and then player only client side, and then don't force overlapping, because basically force overlapping means that if the ball was coming in from the top, it would trigger right when it touches it, but it's going to spawn inside of it, so it doesn't need to overlap. Because it's not going to be able to overlap with these lines right here. It's not going to overlap with it if it's not going over. It's just in the middle. And then from here, you can teleport, and this is going to be synced correctly. Just how you would think a teleport would work. So this is a workaround. If something doesn't work, just add a game ball and have a trigger, and then just destroy it after 0.1 seconds. Now, one of the most useful things that Netcode is used for is sending a string. So I'm going to make a new event over here. So we're just going to have a simple level loaded again. And then I'm going to make an event. So WSNC underscore, I don't know, string sender. Just like that. Okay, so here we have a string sender, and what we're going to do is we're going to set a variable. We're going to set a string, and sending strings is very useful in a lot of applications, but again, I'll get into applications later. So what we're going to do is after the remote event, so after it, we're going to right click new string variable on the target, and then we're going to name this WSNC, the netcode starter, underscore out, underscore, and then that is the prefix for sending a string out of netcode. So it has to be after the remote event. So it has to be after the remote event, and it has to be WSNC out. And then we can name this string. It doesn't matter, but this, one important thing to note is that WSNC is always capitalized, no matter what. Everything that code is always capitalized. Right here, I could also name this like all capital string. Right now it won't work because it's going to autocorrect it. But like if I wanted to have string T, like you could capitalize the entire thing. It's just easier to have it lowercase just so you can see exactly what you're looking at, because WSNC out always has to be capitalized, so it's just sometimes easier. And then we're going to set another variable string, and then we're going to set this after we've sent it through netcode, and now we're receiving it. And so I want to send a string variable that says hello. We're going to send a string variable that says hello. And then in the target of the string variable, I'm going to create a new string variable. I'm going to tell you WSNC underscore in underscore. And then whatever the name of this is. So whatever you named it after, it's the same thing. It says the WSNC in, and the value has to be left empty. Netcode will fill in the value automatically, but if you fill in the value, it messes things up. So don't do it. And then after that, you can use it for however you want. So if I wanted to show this text on screen, so let me do string and then just connect that. And then if I say string, and then that'll just show me the string for 4 seconds. And so this will send the string through, and then it'll display it. And you can use the string however you want now. Now let's say you wanted to send multiple strings. So I want to use a remote event, but I want to send out 3 strings at once. Well, you can do that. So we're going to right click new action, set variable string, and then we are going to put that there, and then we're going to copy paste again, and we're going to put it there. So we're sending 3 strings at once now. And then we just do the same thing. So WSNC underscore out underscore string 2. I'm just going to type it out because it's easier for me to see the numbers. WSNC underscore out underscore string 3. I don't know why I typed it out. It just looks better to me. So I'm just going to hello there everyone. And then what I can do now is I can copy paste this twice more, and then we're just going to do the same thing. So leave the value empty, WSNC in, and then string 2 and string 3. Now I would keep these all in the same order. I've never tried to put them out of order, but I would just keep these always in the same order, especially because it just makes things simpler to see. And then I'm just going to convert these 3 strings together with 3 inputs and no variable separator. And so string, 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 output, draw text, and just like that. So this is just gonna put the 3 strings together, and that's all it's gonna do. And so that is how you send strings through netcode. Now you can only send a maximum of 128 characters total. I forgot why. CinderBlock explains it in more detail, but you have to keep it below 128 characters. I usually only use a max. I think the most I've used is 6 strings at once, and I've only used it for numbers pretty much, but you can use it for whatever you want, obviously. But it has to always be strings. You can't send an integer or a float or a boolean. It has to be strings because it uses the in-game chat system to send the messages, and you can't send a bool. You can't send a boolean through a chat system. It just doesn't work. Now I'm going to disable this just because I don't care about this. And so at the beginning, it's going to say hello there, everyone. Now, another thing we need to do is we need to initialize netcode. So with the new update, this is not in CinderBlock's one because he made it when it worked. With the new update, when they removed the voice chat system, it broke everything. So what you need to do is you would need to initialize netcode when it first loads. Every single time someone loads into the map, it's going to initialize netcode. So what we're going to do is we're going to WSNC underscore initialize. And then we're just going to do that. And then we're going to do client side. And then I'm just going to send a simple string real quick. String. And then target is WSNC out underscore init. And then we're going to create another variable. WSNC underscore in underscore init. And init is initialization. I just like to keep things short so I don't have to type a lot. I don't like typing that much. So next we're going to type init just as the value, just so it sends it. And then that's going to initialize netcode when we load into the game. And so we're actually going to want to delay this by a second because we want netcode to initialize before. And this will initialize immediately. It just needs to send a message now. I don't know why, but I discovered it on accident. And it just needs to initialize first. So condition, compare string. So if you want to check if someone has netcode or doesn't have it, this is what you can do. So we're going to action of math, add int. What we're going to do is we're going to add an int right here. We're going to add an int just like that. I'm going to move this over so I'm not anywhere near it. Don't like being next to things. So if this value equals, actually we're going to do it after. If that equals 1, then it needs to do it again. And then if it is more than 1, it's going to compare the string. And if it is not equal, then they don't have netcode. And if it is equal, then they do have netcode. So I know what you're saying. You're saying, Shark, what the heck did you just do? And I'm going to explain it real quick. So what I do is when we load the level, it's going to add 1. And this is going to do it client side, so it's only going to happen for one person, right? So we're going to add 1. I don't know why I'm saying right, like you're going to respond to me through your screen. But we're going to add 1. And it's going to send through the netcode, and it's going to say init. And then it's going to send that string through. And then what it's going to do is it's going to check, have we loaded, is this 1? If it is 1, then we're going to do it again and actually want that to be there. If it's 1, we're going to do it again. And so it's going to do it again. It's going to send the string. And then it's going to go here. And then it's after it detects it being done twice. So because it's going to be added once in the level load and then twice after this. And so if it happens, if A is more than B, so if A is more than B, so that would be 2 more than 1, it's going to say that we do or do not have netcode. Now I'm going to get a simple draw text here. So true and false, and then we're going to make this player 0, so it only happens on one person's on the person who's loading in screen. And so if it's true, netcode initialize. I don't know if I spelled that right. It doesn't look right. I don't know. Oh well. Netcode. And then for the failing, we just needs to be installed. And then for that, you can make it -1. And what that's going to do is going to make it so it's showing indefinitely. So if someone doesn't have netcode, the text isn't going to go away. And what I did is I actually disabled it for true. So if you have it, it doesn't actually say anything. And if you don't have it, it's going to tell you. But what this is going to do is right here, it's going to see if it sent the string correctly, because netcode is going to send this string right here into the target of out of the remote event. So if this is true, it's going to be init and init. And it is case sensitive. So it's going to equal each other and it's going to be true. Okay, so that's going to check for netcode when we load into the game. And then over here, it's going to wait a second. And then it's going to send the string hello everyone. And I'm actually going to move these down, which is about 200 should be fine. 200 is going to move them down because y is opposite. X is the same, I think. Y, the positive, is actually negative. I don't know why. That's just how UDK works. But that is how you set it. And this is the initialization. And you actually only have to have the level load, the client side, initialize, and then send the string. And that's all you have to have. You don't have to have all this extra stuff to check for netcode. I just included it just because it's useful. Because if someone doesn't have netcode, the map isn't going to work correctly. And if it doesn't work correctly, they'll blame the map creator and not the plugin because they don't know that the plugin is what's doing the work. So next, what I want to do is, let's say, I'm just going to use the same level loaded just because, actually no I'm not. I'm going to pull out of this delay over here. So let's say I have a 3 vector. Okay, so let me just, after 1 second, get vector components. Let's just say I have a 3 vector here of 200, 200, and I don't know. That's a lot of thousands. Let's just do 1,000. And let's say I want to send this through netcode. Well, how am I going to do that? Because I can't send numbers. And, well, you can only send strings, but you can convert it to a number after. And that is synced. Okay, so what we have for this is called string to something. And it's just a string to float. It's just simple Flash script that's in a Swift. And you don't have to do what I did in the last video. And I said you have to close UDK and reopen it and all that stuff. This one will just straight up work if you import it because there's no images. If there's no images, you can just import it fine. So we're going to open the GFX movie wherever that thing is over here. And then we're going to put that there. So it's going to open it whenever, let's just do it over here with this. So whenever the level's loaded, it's just going to open that. And you want to make sure that this is set to client side so it happens for every single person. Or you can do it on start countdown. I would just do it for a level load client side. It just makes everything a lot simpler. So this is going to come in handy in just a second. So I'm going to create, object variable in the movie player because we're going to use it. Next thing I want to do is I want to convert all these to variables. So miscellaneous convert to string. And I don't want these to be one string because I'm going to be putting it into a vector. And to set vector components, you need 3 different ones. So I'm going to copy paste, and then I'm going to copy paste just like that. And then for all of these, it doesn't matter any of this stuff. I'm going to disable that just because I like to disable it. But these don't matter. The variable separator doesn't matter because there's only one input. So it has nothing to separate. And then this is going to be X. This is going to be Y. This is going to be Z. So just like that, we have our 3 components. And then we have string 1, string 2, and string 3. And then I'm going to do WSNC underscore send vector. And I'm going to connect that there. And I'll put this down here just so I can see everything here. Okay, so next thing we want to do is we want to send these strings. So I'm going to right click, action, set variable string. And then I'm just copy paste this 3 times for our 3 strings that we already made. And then connect them up. And then create string variables for all 3 of them. And now for this first one, we want it to be X. The second one, we want it to be Y. The third one, we want it to be Z. It's just simpler to keep things in order. So this one is going to be WSNC underscore out underscore X. WSNC underscore out underscore Y. And WSNC underscore out underscore Z. And those are both capital, but this one is lowercase. So I'm going to actually have to put just XA, because UDK, what it does is once it detects that you've typed something and then you try and retype it, it's going to capitalize it however you had it the first time. It's so annoying, but I apparently used X and Y somewhere, but I didn't. whatever. UDK, you do what you need to do. I don't care. Okay, well that's enough of me ranting. Next we're going to do new action, set variable string. And then we'll copy paste them. And then for the targets, we're going to have our 3 variables. So we're going to have them the same name, WSNC underscore in underscore XA. And the same to you. You can also just do this, WSNC underscore in underscore. And then you can just type it after. So you don't have to type it. You don't have to type WSNC underscore in every single time. And same with out. You could just put them all in one and rename it. That's what I like to do a lot when you have a lot of string variables. It's useful to do it. Okay, so now what we've done is we've sent the vector as strings. So we have our X or Y and our Z. Just like that. But these are going to be strings, and if we try and set the vector components, it won't work because you need a float. So how do we do that? Well, we use this script. So we're going to use a node in the GFX, which you've probably never seen, is called invoke action script. And then invoke action scripts is going to, it's basically going to run a function inside of the action script. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an argument. And then type, we want to send out a number. So that's going to be it. And then we're going to right click and argument number 0. And so just like that, we have it set up. And so our movie player is going to be this. And you can also make this a name variable. So if I wanted to, I could just make this HUD. Okay, maybe not HUD. I might have already used that string HUD. And then named variable, and then string HUD. If you need to use it in a ton of places, you can always do it like that. And then we're going to connect the GFX action script, and then we're going to need this 3 times. Because we need 3 different floats. You can't put them all in one, it's not going to work. So let me just put that closer. I like to keep everything straight to make it look like I'm cleaning my own maps. But what we're going to do is we're going to link the arguments just like that. So the first one's going to give us the X, second one's going to give us the Y, third one's going to give us the Z. And then now what we're going to do is we're going to hold down F and click on it. It's going to connect a float to the result. And I missed the 3rd time. And I'm going to put the output vector on the right because I want to use the vector after. And then X, Y, and Z. And just like that, we've sent a vector through Netcode. Now, we want to output the vector. So, new vector variable. And this is going to give us this vector out here. So now I can, I don't know, teleport. Now, this won't actually work. If you remember, teleports don't work with Netcode. So, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to use what we did over here. I'm going to add a game ball. Game ball, and then I'm going to teleport it. So right here, add a game ball over there, and then use this trigger volume. Not that, I want that. Trigger volume to ball underscore TA, and then 0, 0, and then that. Set actor location so we can use the vector. And just like that, we're done. Woohoo! And we're not actually done because I can't teleport. I can't teleport the ball because the ball is going to be destroyed, so I can't use the instigator. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to set the car as a target. And you can try using players or player 0. It doesn't work for teleporting that well because sometimes player 0 you don't want to teleport exactly player 0, so I'm just going to do this really quickly. Blue all and orange all, red all. Okay, so now that's going to teleport both of these. Alright, so now that we have this set up, I need to make 2 different ones, but now it works, and I'm going to switch these back to object lists. There we go. Okay. So now we have it set up. So what we did is we initialized netcode at the beginning, checked if we had netcode, and then we sent a string, a basic string that says hello there everyone, and then we sent a vector through netcode, and then we set the actor location of them at that vector. Now I need to double check where this vector actually is, because you can change this vector now to be whatever value you want. Negative 150, 1800. So negative 150, 1800. I think that's what I said. I kind of forgot, even though I just said it like a few seconds ago. Okay, but now that we have that set up, that's pretty much all of netcode right there. Okay, one thing I did actually forget to do, I was just double checking my code. I do actually want to put a delay on this. I don't want it to happen twice instantly. I want it to happen just a second after, just because I need to give it a second to initialize instead of doing it instantly again. Another thing I noticed is that if I want to set a vector component and teleport, I can't do that off level loaded. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this trigger that I put here earlier. And so this is going to do everything pretty much, and then we'll just do 0, 0 client side. Now this would be, there would be no point to be doing the ball in this case. There would be no point to use netcode in this case. Or in order to teleport right here, to use the ball and then teleport, you could just do it off here, off a delay. But it's just for demonstration purposes. Now, if you don't know how to install netcode, you just hit F2, plugins, open plugin manager, and then you type 166 and install by ID. And that's going to install netcode for you right there. Now, netcode doesn't work in training. It doesn't work in custom games. So you can't load the match this way. It has to be through Rocket Plugin in order for netcode to work. Okay, so right here it says netcode initialized, and the string is set is from the Flash tutorial, I believe. So I'm gonna join blue. And so when I go over here, it should say, it should show our string. It did teleport me to the right place though. The only thing is because the path node is just gonna set us on the floor. So that's what it does. Everyone, hello. So you can see that there. I don't really know how it's scored. This map is really not great to show how netcode works just because of how much stuff is everywhere. But that's basic netcode. Now I'm going to show you some applications, and it is going to take a little bit. If you don't want to see the applications, you can just click off now. But if you want to see the applications, you can stay around and I'll show you some of my maps and how netcode works in there. Okay. Welcome to Super Rush. Now this is the code for Super Rush, and I'm going to show you what I use netcode for in here, because there are some things that just only work client side. So first thing is right down here. This is the first instance I use it, so I'm going to try and just talk about netcode. I'm not going to talk about the rest, but basically everything here is going to happen client side. And then right here is going to get the player name, and that's going to set the string, just so because this get property, sometimes it would just wipe it instantly. So I set it to a string, and then I set it out of red number, and then up here I have string names red number, or that's actually red name, not red number, and that draws the text like that. And this is the new scoreboard system. If you know the old scoreboard system, it used the HUD, but HUD is now bugged with the new update. So I had to switch to draw text, but same application applies of the string wasn't sending on client side. So this is where you would use netcode. Down here is the next noticeable time that I use netcode. So these are all the goals. And then what it's going to do is it's going to send a signal through WSNC finish. And what it's going to do is it's going to start the countdown for, you have to score in a certain amount of time, and then it scores the goal and moves on to the next level. So it initializes that. It also checks what ball it is, because if you've ever played Super Rush, you would know that the ball is placed under a different color. So those are all object groups, and so it was red ball, dark blue, green ball, and then after an object list, it usually doesn't send like through to everyone after that, so it was just a netcode. If you're not sure that something's going to send either, just use netcode. Like, there's no harm in using it if you're just sending a signal. Like right here, this signal's going right here. Like, but there's no harm in just using it just in case. And then this is going to just destroy the balls, and then it's going to stop timing. Now, this is the next considerable time where I use netcode. This is the timer system right here. I'm not going to go into full detail, but basically after the timer is done, it converts it to a string, and then it takes read time, and then it sends it out to read time, and then what that does is it draws the text up here. So for read time, WC in read time, and it uses the string to draw the text. And so it's mainly just sending strings, and it's sending signals to all the clients rather than just sending it to the host or just sending it to the client. It sends it to everyone every single time. And so this is another time where I need to spawn the balls. So this is if the ball touched the floor, it sends a ball, it checks which group it's in, and then if it's the red ball, it's going to spawn the red ball right here. So WC, this says spawn red, you can see it up here. They're all just put together, and then it'll spawn the red ball. Well, you don't really have to worry about the rest of this black randomness. If you ever want me to go through like a full map like this, like I could go through some more complex maps, like I could go through Battle Royale and Domination and stuff like that, and Super Rush. If you want a more in-depth analysis of these maps and how the code works, I can go through everything. If you want that, just let me know, because I'll go through it. I thank you for watching. I hope you learned something about how netcode works, and that you can now use it in your levels, because it is simply a lifesaver. Everything that I used, including the Swift file and this map file, will be placed in the Google Drive, which is linked in the description, as well as CinderBlock's video on netcode, which is also going to be linked in the description. If you want me to go over some maps and analyze them like more closely and tell you exactly what's going on through the entire sequence or an entire round or whatever map, whether it be Super Rush, Domination, or something simple like Alphabet, just let me know and I'll go through it. Just let me know in the comments. And that's about it. I'll see you